Welcome to your X Generation Fishing Report. This is your inshore report of the week. Today I'm joined by Captain Danny. Captain Danny, good to see you.
Yeah, they don't let me out much.
They don't let him out much. It's been a couple of weeks, you know. Yeah, it is what it is. He's out fishing. I'm here taking care of everything inside.
Somebody's got to run the show here. Somebody's got to go fishing.
Somebody's got to go fishing.
Y'all want to trade places with me? I'll be more than happy to use your air conditioning.
So tell us, what's going on the inshore side?
Wow. Lots of fresh water. Cleaner fresh water. Like fresh water. The intercoastal is now Lake Okeechobee.
Inundated with fresh water.
But, you know, I mean, look, your snook don't mind it that much. The tarpon, they don't mind it that much.
Tarpon can adapt, yes. They're very adaptable.
Everything's going to adapt. I mean, the sad thing about it is, like the big Jack Crevalle, they tend to like it. But the next thing you know, they got sores growing on them and stuff. And that's just, it's par for course. It's summertime in South Florida.
It happens every year now, like ritual.
It's every year. Look, the water's got to go somewhere. Now, daytime bite, spillways, hasn't been all that great, and it should be going off. It could be because we've had this freshwater flow going so long now, these fish will start getting in their groove, and they'll start moving around when they want to, versus staying right up there in these spillways and hanging out with the bite.
What do you think about the inlet bite at this time now? Because there's more salt water on the bottom with the flow?
They're not stacked in the inlets. There should be more
either.
snook hanging out in the inlets. We're side scanning the inlets and going up and down, you know, looking at the ledges and looking at all the rock piles and drop-offs where these snook should be laying. Like Palm Beach Inlet, there's snook there, but it's not holding as many fish as it should. It seems like on the switch of the tides start coming back in, bringing a little bit of cleaner water. There's so much fresh water that it's hard to get a good pull of super clean water. And what happens is these fish are going to feed on the incomings. They've been feeding on that cleaner water, you know, right when it tops out, or the beginning of it when a good push of clean comes. But there's just, the fish aren't around like we think they should be. This is during the daytime stuff. Now, X Generation's very own Tim Rose and I had a chat today. The bite on the bridges at night for the snook has been awesome. Lots of small fish, but there's lots of them. They're catching moonfish. Look, there's mangrove snapper bites around all the docks and stuff.
Wow.
Has been phenomenal, even with all this fresh water. So it's, I don't even know what to say anymore until something happens and the fish, we go through lulls. Right now, I think we're in one of these little lulls. And in a couple days from now, we'll come out of this lull and all the fish will group back up, show back up. Today, I didn't get to run the beach, not to talk so much, but that's what I do for a living. I talk a lot. I got a face for radio.
And fishes, too.
Tomorrow morning I'll be on the beach running the beaches looking for fish. Not fish, just looking for fish. I want to go look and see what's going on with the beach. You know, there's bait on the beaches.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a good thing on the inshore. I have seen a good tarpon bite because the tarpon, if you don't know, are very resistant to the fresh water. They will, and if they need to, they can survive in just straight fresh water. They will gulp the air.
Oh yeah.
And they'll, when they see them come up like that, they're actually gulping air to get air into their system. So that this the tarpon bite, I have seen more people catching. Not overly big tarpon, but nice size. I want to say about that big, and a fun fight.
Anything from the 6-pounders up to the 15, 20-pounders.
Oh yeah.
The ultimate fish on super light tackle, and I have been doing a lot of that. The Boynton area was loaded with the small tarpon last week, the week prior. This week, it's slowed down. I'm not seeing as many of the tarpon. So they're either moving or they're just laying low. I don't know. It's when I just take the dice out, roll them, and go fishing.
There you go. So let's talk about a couple tips and tricks for our viewers when fishing these dirty waters. So for me, I like to personally work the bottom of the water column when it's dirty like this, because I know there's a little more salt water on the bottom of the water column. These fish will hold up there. I'll switch to my darker colors, and I'll just dredge the bottom. Just slow, slow, and let that paddle tail do its work. On the bottom, DOA Cal again. The root beer or the brown and silver are my favorites during this time, with an 1/8 ounce jig head, depending on the current, all the way up to a quarter max is what I like to use.
I'm usually the 1/4 to 3/8 ounce when it comes to the jig heads, but I'm cleaning my lure more. I'm getting a lot more, but I'm dredging the bottoms. It's like you say, I'm dredging. Now, with all this fresh water that's coming out of these spillways into the intercoastal, there's a ton of silt. And it's, if you've been fishing any of it, when you're dredging the bottom, you're constantly, every time you're reeling up, you're cleaning that jig. But if that jig gets out there, I'm fishing a lot of shelves. Like Lake Worth Spillway, for instance, where that spillway comes out and meets the intercoastal, on your right-hand side, there's a ledge that comes up, and it turns into a flat over there. Those fish are going to lay on that ledge, on that drop-off, where it drops off right on that bottom, and that's deep water.
Yeah.
So I'm using, a 1/4 ounce, 3/8 ounce jig head to get down there. The small DOA Cal Shad, that Cal Shad, it's a small bait, so it gets down a little quicker than trying to use a larger profile bait. The larger profile is going to pay off. He hit it right on the money with the colors. The darker colors, I prefer like an Arkansas Shad. That color, Shiner. The Arkansas Shiner or an Arkansas Shiner with the glow, that's another really good color when the water's dirty. I've gone over to using red jig heads and black jig heads. It's all about profile in the dark water. Now, flip-flop to the tarpon, I go totally the other way.
I like to do top water for the tarpon. It's my favorite thing.
Top water, but with me, what I've been finding out to really get multiple bites and try to get on a really good bite and get them fired up is I'm throwing a DOA Cal 4-inch jerkbait on an 1/8 ounce DOA jig head, but I'm using a chartreuse color jig head. So I'm using pearl, the pearl color,
that pearl
and that
is
chartreuse.
a nice,
so it's all bright, which to me, a lot of times you guys will go, he's always talking about dirty water, dark colors. It's working for me on the tarpon. And I'll throw them out long distance up current and reel the slack in and then go pop, pop real quick to get it to come up real fast a couple times. And then on that drop, that's when you're going to get your hit. These little tarpon, these little 20-pounders, they love to eat them things.
So, and when you do it that way, you're mimicking a fish that's dying. So when you ever see a fish in the water, they're going to jump up like that.
It's either dying or it's trying to get away from me. And there's two things that fish like to eat: stuff that's dying and stuff that's trying to get away from them.
So going back to the silt, there's other couple lures you can use. Owners makes a great hook. It's weedless. It's their twist lock, and they also make that with a weighted head also. Mm-hmm. So if you're working the bottom like that, that's an option you can try also. Mm-hmm. Our viewers can try also, and that's going to keep a little more of the silt off because you don't have that hook to hook onto that silt and
Correct. You don't have the jig head right in front of your lure, which everything builds up on.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the hook, and that's the twist lock. It twists right into the bait. If you haven't tried them or checked them out, check them out. They're great hooks. They're strong hooks. They're sharp hooks. And that twist lock that owner invented and came out with, they were the ones that put that out on the market. They were the first. It works. I use that a lot.
You rig them weedless, and they come with the option of having the weight in the hook also, which is a great thing.
Yes, they make them in with a little short lead on them, and then they make it also with a banana-shaped weight that's on the hook, more like a keel bait, which is great for small swim baits. Another good bait, and when you've got the conditions we're having now, is the Storm swim bait. And you all hear me talk about it a lot. Rapala owns Storm. Storm baits have been around forever. That Storm swim bait.
They're tried and true.
It's just, look, it's a no-brainer bait. There's not a bunch to it. It's easy to use, and I use loop knots to try and give it a little freedom on my bait. Everybody does it different. Excuse me, I'm belching fish dip that I ate all day today. I've been eating on kingfish fish dip.
Nice.
Matter of fact, I think I have some here. I better remember it. But back to fishing, fishing, fish dip. That everything you're doing, I do the same exact thing because it's going to work. Those root beer colors. Oh yeah. They just work in dirty water conditions. What it is about them, I don't know. Golden brim. That's another good color, and I think that was the next color you would have talked about. That's another good color. It's all about the colors. The silhouette. It's all about them silhouetting. If there's current, they're going to be laying into that current, looking into that current. I wish I had a beach report for you, but it's like the other day I ran a little ways south, saw croakers on the beach, but didn't see snook, but I haven't really run far enough south or far enough north. Tomorrow I will make a 20-mile run on the beach looking. So stay tuned. Next week we'll have a great beach report from Captain Danny. Thanks for tuning in. This is your inshore report with Captain Danny and Devin. Good to see you again. All right, my brother. Good to see you. Weather predictions, Danny. What did you hear? What I heard is it's real easy, guys. Weather-wise, it's like variable winds, basically. Southwest in the morning to south, and then switch back around from the north, and it's going to be like this every day. Variable winds, 1 to 2 foot seas. Go fishing. Go fishing, and it's that simple. They said there's a chance of thunderstorms, and I wouldn't doubt there's going to be some thunderstorms, like it's been every day, huh? Yeah, for the last week and a half. Anyway. Hey, at least we're not in a drought. but in a way,
But the fishing. Let's talk about the fishing. So, what do you think's the fishing that's going to be this week?
I've saltwater offshore. I'm not going to do any inshore fishing this weekend. I'm probably going to go offshore and try for the kingfish and the blackfins.
Now, the kingfish is definitely the hot fish. So that's the thing that they've been catching the most of, as well as the blackfin. Now, the one fish that was not biting very well was the dolphin. They kind of simmered down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the wahoo bite was almost non-existent. There was a few caught, but not many. That's a bycatch at that point because we got the dirty water, we got the salinity level changing. It's harder to target those species, but nevertheless, the kingfish bite. The commercial guys are posting stuff all over the place. If you're a kingfisher, if you like kingfishing and you want to go out and kingfish, that would be the thing to do in my book. And if you can get past some sharks, bottom fishing would be ideal as well.
It's funny you say that because every year when these kingfish come around like this, those muttons are down below them eating all them scraps. The only problem is the shark issue you're going to have to deal with. But I think if you got the proper gear and you get away from the crowds, you know, like I'll go south. I'll go out off Del Rey. I don't get sharked as much down there. Maybe it's because they congregate more around the inlets, stay a little closer to the inlets. Juneau Ledge, that's another great area right now for the kingfish, but you're going to have to deal with the sharks. Look, just deal with the sharks and get the job done.
There's a way I deal with the sharks. A little secret. I'm going to give you guys a secret here. Especially when you're bottom fishing and you're targeting these kingfish, you're going to get bonitas in the mix. There's bonitas out there. They're starting to show up in numbers. And what you do is you just grab a bonita and just put it in your box. The second, if you're bottom fishing, you know you got a decent amount on it. Take that bonita, throw it overboard. Okay, take that whole thing, throw it overboard. You'll drift away from the bonita. The sharks most likely will go to that bonita, and then you have a better chance of getting that snapper or mutton or whatever your bottom fish is at that time.
I've seen them do it during tournaments.
It's not
I've seen the guys do
100%
it.
effective, but it's definitely beneficial. So
It's a deterrent.
It's a deterrent. And believe me, if you got a chance, if you get a fresh bonita, just slit that throat real quick, or you know you got a decent fish on, and throw that bonita over. And as you drift away from that bonita, the sharks will go to that bonita, and it gives you a better chance of getting that fish up in the box.
And the bonita, blackfin. And, you know, if you get into them bonita, I like to go to the outside of them. You usually get a little deeper water. If I find a bonita, I find the blackfin. I go out to the deeper water. But I'd kind of get away from the inlets. I'm going to say it again, just to get to a little water that's got a little less fresh water in it. You know, the further you get away from the inlets, the more salty that water is going to get. It's going to clean up, and you're going to get into more of these. The kingfish are laying out, from what I heard in Boynton, right out on the outside of that dirty, fresh water.
Yeah, look
They're
for that
just
color change.
Stacked up on that color change. As soon as you get outside of that clean water, it's just lines in the water and hang on. But there's also things, I've heard guys catching them in the dirty water, but they're near that edge. Stay near the edge where that water transformation is, and that's where the bite's at.
All right. Well, that's our weather predictions. Hopefully, we got a better one for you next week. We're gonna do the week 17 of the metals here in just a second. Week 17 of the metals. We're gonna go in here. This is the lead. You see how the water? It's still that brownish color. Look like normal in the coastal
It's
waters.
got a little blacker color.
Yeah, it's getting a little blacker. But if you go into the galvanized one, we still got that green algae. You can see it's starting to build up, and not just grabbing it. It's almost like something you would catch on the bottom
Looks
of.
like you're getting coastal.
Yeah, cool.
Just kidding, in a way.
And here's your aluminum. Of course, there doesn't look like the metals are corroding very much.
That's what's getting me. They're really not breaking down.
Maybe we should do it test a different way, but maybe we should take them.
Just keep going with your test. Leave it like that.
Well,
year from now, if nothing's changed, you still got.
But the best thing about this is actually the colors of the water. I mean, this is very interesting to me. As far as the corrosion part of it, it doesn't. It seems non-existent at this point.
Somebody who could analyze, like somebody that really knows water, you know, water treatment type person from a water plant, would be able to give you a better idea on just here's why this does, because they're metals, so they're minerals. And that's like Devin and I and you, we were talking about this, the dark green, and it's like possibly because the iron, the algae will feed on the iron more than the other three metals.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know,
well, we'll see. We need to get somebody in here to explain
kind
this
of
to
look
us.
like something you'd drink at a horse race, you know?
Anyway, we'll look forward to week 18 and see. Hopefully, we get somebody in here.